My biological grandfather had multiple partners, my uncle had multiple partners, and then my grandmother had multiple partners.
So what was marriage like for you?
Marriage, I love marriage, but I just chose the wrong partner.
Yes, absolutely.
Trust your gut. If you know something is going on, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
You might not know exactly what it is, but you know something is going on.
So was he also polygamous then? Because you met her.
Polyamorous. So I want to
explain the difference.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So it is about ensuring that every woman has the support she needs, not just from her husband, but also from her sister wives. Monogamy makes people compete. Polyamory, to identify as polyamorous, is like you identifying as gay or lesbian or whatever your sexual orientation is. I think with monogamy, you have to suppress so much of who you are. What we call an alpha man, that is the epitome of misogynist. And for women, the best type of male for you to seek, if you're going to go on that scale of alpha, beta, gamma, delta, blah, blah, are a delta man.
You had a husband and then you had a boyfriend on the side.
Yes.
How... On the side, can I say that? Or who slept in which bedroom?
So we exercise what we call kitchen table poly.
So do you think that we are missing out on this whole sister wives thing and that community? And this might sound harsh. Do you think that we are a generation that's also confused?
If monogamy was not created and polygamy was the only thing available, most men would not have an opportunity to procreate.
So, hi, Adwoa. How are you today?
Good to see you.
You too.
My dancing queen. Every time I see you out, you're like dancing in your own little world. But I love it.
I'm just like, I don't go out that much. So when I do, I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, leave me alone. You guys go have your talks. I'm just going to do my thing over here, you know?
Yes, I love it though.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of More to Love. Today I'm going to say a really special guest because I love how you are. I love your freedom that you have.
Thank you.
And I really, really do admire it actually. Okay. And so I was like, I have to bring you on the show today because I want to hear your take on relationships and everything around that and how you got there. Okay, so we're going to have a great conversation today.
Yes, I'm excited. My favorite topic, relationships.
All right. So before we begin, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Adwoa Davis, and I moved here 5 years ago from Washington, D.C., and I am a mental health therapist and life coach, relationship and dating coach, focusing on
I didn't even know that part. Okay.
Yes, focusing on international relationships. So, and alternative lifestyles. So like polyamory, polygamy, people in the LGBTQ communities, and in like the BDSM communities.
Okay. How did you get into that space, first of all?
Into which space?
Okay, the space where you are talking about the different types of relationships.
Oh, okay. So essentially, I grew up in polyamory. The men in my family, my grandfather had a girlfriend outside of his wife, which was his second wife. My biological grandparents divorced before I was thought of, but and so his second wife, and then he had a girlfriend she was just part of the family, like. Yeah.
And so everybody knew about each other, so there was no...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so they were together. I know that they were together for almost 40 years.
Oh, really?
And then, besides his wife, I called her Granny. I don't know how long they were married, but they were married till she passed away. And then his girlfriend and him were still together up until he passed away.
Really? I'm really interested in the dynamic of that. Like, how did his wife feel knowing that he had a girlfriend?
I have no idea. I don't, because I was young, it was just normal to me. Like, and like my uncle, so my family's full of women, and there was only two men, my uncle and my grandfather. And then I was the first grandchild.
Okay.
And so my uncle was like the man in my life. It's from the time I was born. Like, he literally drove my mom to the hospital to have me and picked me up and took me home. So there's a funny story. I love Volkswagen Beetle bugs.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
Because he built his own from scratch. He's like a master mechanic, but he's also a doctor. But but outside of that, he's a master mechanic. He built his first car, and it was a Beetle. And the funny thing is, I was born in January in Kansas. And if anyone knows about Kansas in America, it is like a plain state, and so it's the middle of winter, January. And it snows. Snow is like up to your neck. It is so cold.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So the funny thing is, when my mom was bringing me home from the hospital, like, his heater, the heat didn't push out into the car. So the heat was only under the dash. So they literally had to wrap me up in a whole bunch of blankets and stuck me under the dash. Then that's how I got home from the hospital.
Oh my gosh. So you have a history with Beatles.
I do, yes. But anyway, I say all that to say, like, from day one, he has been there. He's like, and so he thinks that, he forgets I'm his niece. He thinks we're sister and brother. Like,
really?
We're very, very close. And then my grandfather
nice.
And I were very, very close too. So anyway, so my uncle, he also had like multiple relationships at once. He has like several children.
Really?
Yeah. So this was kind of the norm for me. And then I learned my grandmother was more my mom, so she kind of raised me.
Yeah.
And when she passed away, I was having dinner or lunch or something with my grandfather, my pop. So he was my grandmother's third husband. And they actually got married maybe 3 years before I was born. So, and he didn't have biological children. So essentially, I was their child, right? So very, very, very close to them. And so we were having a conversation, and we got on the subject of me not marrying or something or whatever. And my family never pushed me to get married and have kids. That was just not. Even my grandmother was always like, I was born during this time, none of you all would have been here, you know? So it was just, like, be free. And then you talk about me being so free. I get it from them that that was her spirit, but she was just born in the wrong time,
Really?
And so in that conversation, he said something to the fact of, he's like, yeah, your mama always had her friends. And I was like, okay. But it made me think back, because there was always an uncle that would do stuff for us. Like, would always make sure we had things, or like, because my mom was a single mom when I lived with my mother, which was very rare. But even if I needed anything, like, there was always some guy that was around that was a friend of my grandmother's that would take care of us. Right. And so when I thought back on it, I was like, So
she had multiple partners too.
She had multiple partners too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your grandfather had multiple partners?
My biological grandfather had multiple partners. My uncle had multiple partners, and then my grandmother had multiple partners.
Really? And so as a child, you never noticed any of it? It was just normal?
It was just normal.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just absolutely normal.
Okay. So how did that influence you?
I think with my grandmother's influence, who she just always pushed being free and being yourself and and exploring the world. That's where I get my love of travel from, and love of different cultures from. Yeah. And so, I swear I'm like her child. Like my mother was just the vessel to push me out into the world. But because we're nothing alike. So, it was my grandmother's influence, and it just, I don't know, I'm just her reincarnated, I think.
Okay, so you've never been married before?
I have been married before.
You have been married before?
I have.
Do you have any children?
No.
Okay, so what was marriage like for you?
Marriage, I love marriage, but I just chose the wrong partner.
Yeah. Oh, I feel you on that one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like marriage.
Okay, how long were you married for?
11 months.
Okay. Okay, so tell me about how did you get to the point of being married and then deciding after 11 months this is not for you?
So when I met my partner, it was actually a friend of mine was starting the Black and Poly meetup group in DC. This is kind of where poly was becoming now like a buzzword. And so I was going to the meetup to support him. And there was this guy, who's a very nice looking guy or whatever. And then we started chatting and it was, we started dating after that.
Okay.
So, long story short, so during that time, I had just lost my grandmother. So I was in a very, very vulnerable place. And so I was still kind of grieving.
Yeah.
And he came along in that period of grief, and my radar was not as sharp as it should have been.
Yeah.
And so I was also dealing with some health issues, some severe health issues, and they couldn't figure out what was going on with me. And I was under a lot of doctor's care and just literally going to the doctors 2 or 3 times a week, trying to figure out what was wrong. And I was in the hospital a lot, and he was there. He sat through, sit in the chair all night, or whatever. He was showing up. He was showing up in ways that I really hadn't had anybody show up for me in my life. And so because I was going through all of that, we decided to get married. Literally. So me being the smart businesswoman that I am, and really being tapped into my intuition. When we went to Puerto Rico, we went on vacation. Went to Puerto Rico. His friend was like a pastor, so he literally did a ceremony in a cave, and we were just gonna do the paperwork when we got back home. So in the midst of all that, I was still dealing with health issues. We moved into a new house. He had a 6-year-old daughter when we met, and he was having some issues with her mom. So it was a lot going on. So we never actually filed the paperwork.
Oh,
which worked out great.
Oh gosh, you're so lucky.
I know.
Why didn't that happen to me? We never filed the paperwork.
We never filed the paperwork. So literally, in DC, you have to be, I think it's separated for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then you can annul it. But still, we had lived together for a year. So we were considered married by common law, married by DC standards. And we presented, because I think the law reads you have to be living together for at least 6 months and presenting yourself as husband and wife. So all your friends, family, or whatever know oh yeah, y'all been together, whatever. So you're technically married by DC standards, but we never filed paperwork.
Right.
So basically, I found out he lied to me about everything about himself, his work status, everything. Yes. So it was a whole hot mess. Right. And so I always tell women, you don't have to go looking for things. Whatever you need to know, just keep your eyes and trust your gut.
Yes, absolutely.
Trust your gut. If you know something is going on, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
You might not know exactly what it is, but you know something is going on. So just wait. Pay attention.
Yeah.
Listen. Because men aren't as smart as they like to think they are. And they will slip up.
Yeah.
Literally, as soon as things started going awry, things started falling into my lap. So a box, simple thing. A box was in our basement that I never touched. I was looking for something of mine, and I went to this box, and I thought it was my stuff. It was his stuff. So I'm going through stuff I was trying to find some document or something. and in it like fell out like all this stuff that countered what he had told me about himself.
Right. You see, I like what you're saying, because I find that a lot of women will lie to ourselves so that we can believe whatever this other person is telling us, because we want to believe it so much that we ignore the red flags, I guess, or we ignore our intuition, the gut feeling that we have that something is wrong, and we just ignore it.
Yeah.
We just ignore it.
But you know that maternal thing that we have inside of us. Not every woman is very tapped into it, but it's there, right? And it is your intuition. It's there so that you can be aware of things, and it's very strong. And you've got to pay attention to that. It is your built-in defense mechanism. So just follow your gut. Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. And I'm telling you, men lie. It's like they're socialized. They're socialized to tell you all the lies. But pay attention to their behavior. Their behavior never lies.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely believe that. I definitely believe that.
If he switches up on you, pay attention.
So is he also polygamous then? Because you met up.
Polyamorous. So I want to
explain the difference.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. So polygamy is just the umbrella term for being married to multiple partners. Okay. You have polygyny, which is a woman being married to several men. No. The other way around. Okay. Polygyny is a man being married to several women, and then polyandry, a woman being married to several men. Okay, all right. So polygamy is marriage. Polyamory is just having multiple relationships.
Right.
Okay, so you're not like, there's no legal, standing or whatever, but you have, relationships that you are partnered, right? And then you have the swinger community. That is just sex. That's just focused on sex. So the polygamy or the polyamory pool is getting very polluted because you have a lot of swingers who are calling themselves poly, but they really don't understand what poly really is, and most people are not equipped to handle one relationship, let alone multiple relationships.
Oh my gosh, yes. No, it's true. A lot of people can't handle one partner, and you want to have several. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I really want us to get a better understanding of what a poly relationship is, right? Because I think that when most people think of a poly relationship, there's negative connotation to it, right? It's like, it basically sounds like someone who just wants to go out there and have fun and have multiple partners.
No, it's not that.
So
it's very
what
intentional.
Is it?
I'll use my situation as an example. Number one, polyamory, polygamy actually benefits women a lot more than they know. Okay, society has given us this monogamy idea where it's men who are in control, but polyamory or polygamy actually gives women a lot of power.
Okay.
So they just started having a polygamy conference in Kenya. I think last year was the first one, right?
Okay.
And their tagline is ensuring that every woman has a husband.
Interesting. Why that tagline?
Because it is about ensuring that every woman has the support she needs, not just from her husband, but also from her sister wives. It's a collective. It's about ensuring that everyone is taken care of and everyone is okay, and especially the children.
Right. It's a very interesting way to look at it. But then how do you deal in terms of like maybe jealousy within relationships,
right,
and things like that?
Right. So this is like a twofold kind of thing. So first and foremost, each person has to be very secure with themselves. Okay. That means before you decide to get into, and I say before you get into any relationship, you need to really be sure that you are okay, that you have dealt with all of your trauma and so forth. It's funny, like the word jealousy just cracks me up because it's a word that's just not in my personal vocabulary. Like I don't understand that concept. I've never, even as a therapist, like I just don't get it. Like I just don't understand it at all.
Is that because you grew up in that type of environment that it didn't mean anything to you?
I don't think it has to do with that. It's just me and who I am as a person. I've never competed with anybody. There's no competition. I think I'm part of other people's competitions I'm not aware of. But I just think that everyone has their own path. And my path doesn't look like your path. Your path doesn't look like mine.
Yeah.
But we have our own destinations, and you've got to focus on your destination. So jealousy to me, it doesn't make sense because if you're focused on your path, you don't have time to be worried about what somebody else is doing. So in the relationship realm, it's very important to understand that, especially in polygamy or polyamory, there's no place for jealousy because you've got to look at it from a collective perspective. And most people, monogamy makes people compete.
Okay, maybe explain that.
It's, there's this idea that, okay, we talk about numbers and talk about how there's what I think the last number, like in DC, I'll say, was like 25 women to 1 man.
Oh my goodness.
So, but overall, globally, there are more women than men.
Yeah.
So if you are telling, you're throwing this number out there, and then you're sending the message to women that you need to be married, you need to have children. You are not a woman if you're not married and have children. If you're not under some man's thumb, you're not. All of these things, all of these messages we get, right?
Yeah.
So in your head, it creates a scarcity mentality. That, okay, I've got to get this man, I've got to get this money. And the women are scurrying around like rats, like trying to get a husband. There's not enough men to go around. And then we're not even going to talk about the tiny details of sexuality.
Yes.
Are they husband material?
Yeah.
Which most are not. They would like to think they are, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're not good leaders. They don't make good decisions. They don't want responsibility.
Yeah.
So that goes, that brings the number way down. But then, and women are like, fighting each other over these scraps. So it creates just this unnecessary competition when it doesn't even have to be that way.
Would you say that most men are naturally polygamous?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't believe in all of that. Like, I just think that each individual person has to just know what makes them tick.
Okay.
Because I've seen men who are like, I'm sticking to this one woman right here.
Yeah.
I think I think that I always say that, like, to be polyamorous or polygamous, polygamy, I think we use polyamory because polygamy is putting like the license on it, the marriage. It's focused on marriage. I think that polyamory, to identify as polyamorous, is like you identifying as gay or lesbian or whatever your sexual orientation is or your relationship style is. Okay, it's not and I hate when people say it's a lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle, it's your love style. It's how you love, how you show up in your relationship, and knowing what your needs are. And we are complex human beings. Yeah. Right? There is no way that one person can fulfill all of your needs.
And that goes for men and for women?
For men and for women.
Okay.
It's a decision that you make so like, for example, at this point in my life, I just don't have the energy for more than one person. So I'm sitting in monogamy right now. Does that make me not polyamorous? No, I'm still polyamorous. Yeah. I still have the mindset. I have the ability to love more than one person. It worked for me because I am a complex person. And for example, like my ex-husband, hated politics. At the time, I worked on Capitol Hill, and I was, doing my therapy. I was here, there, doing, all kinds of things. He hated politics, but I always had to go to fundraisers, or I always had to do, political stuff, right?
Yeah.
My boyfriend at the time, he loved politics. So, and they were like best buds. So he's like, oh, good, you're taking her to that thing. I'm like, good,
Really?
Yeah. And then like my ex-husband loved Renaissance fairs. I don't know if you know what Renaissance fair. Okay, Renaissance fairs are like, I think they're just in America, but they kind of celebrate like medieval times and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he loved that stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to that.
Yeah.
And so his girlfriend at the time, she loved that stuff. So you I think with monogamy, you have to suppress so much of who you are in order to fit into this box or this relationship. And I think a lot of people are walking around not really knowing, completely who they are, because they sacrifice so much to try to fit society's idea of who they are supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing, etc.
Do you think that for alpha males, they can be in that type of relationship? Because from the guys that I speak to, I know that they would find it tough knowing that their woman has been with someone else.
So I really, really despise the whole alpha male, beta male concept or whatever. And for women, the best type of male for you to seek, if you're going to go on that scale of alpha, beta, gamma, delta, blah, blah, are delta men.
Okay.
Men who actually are very secure in themselves. They don't try to compete with anybody. They know who they are. They are open to, different and new ideas. What we call an alpha man, that is the epitome of misogynist.
Really?
Yes.
Why do you say that?
So they tend to, the way that men boast this, alphaness, it's very misogynistic, and they don't exude true leadership qualities. They are very like, this is the way it is, this is how I'm gonna run things, I'm the decision man, I'm the man, I'm the man, that whole messaging, right? But if you want a happy, well-balanced relationship, you've got to be able to accept the help of your partner or partners. You've got to be able to have, hard conversations. You've got to be able to be open to different ideas. What we see as alpha men in our society today, they don't have that ability. And it borders on abuse.
But do you think you can have someone who calls himself an alpha male, but is still willing to listen to his partner and share in that way?
Yeah, he's not an alpha man. I would, and any guy that comes and says, I'm an alpha man, I'm running the other way.
Really?
Yes.
And also, do you not think that there are some women that actually like the idea of having a man that will say,
oh, absolutely,
this is how it is?
Oh, absolutely. Because there are some women that don't have their own sense of direction. And they need someone like that.
Yeah.
Perfect, but don't come my way.
And I think that is one of the things. There are so many different ways to do relationships.
Absolutely.
And it's for you to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right or it's wrong. It's just about you and what works for you.
Absolutely. And that's why I was saying earlier, you've got to know yourself.
Yeah.
Know yourself and what you are capable of dealing with. Yeah. So people have to do a lot of self-work. Most people are not able to do that. Are not willing to do that.
That's true, because it's hard. It's hard to look on the inside of you and really have a conversation with yourself about who you are and what you like and what you don't like. That's tough. Not everyone can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I want to know a little bit more about your relationship. You had a husband and then you had a boyfriend on the side.
Yes.
How on the side? Can I say that, or
No,
you just had a boyfriend?
I had a boyfriend.
You had a boyfriend. Okay. First of all, how did you go about constructing that, and how did it work? How did it flow?
People are always like, what?
Yeah, because it takes you by surprise. Like, people are living this lifestyle. Like,
People
it's so
live
different.
it,
Or
and-
people don't want to talk about it openly.
Yeah, most people don't want to talk about it openly because it's frowned upon, in their workplaces or
Yeah.
in the greater society. It is becoming more, known, but it's still, people are like, I don't know about that. But yeah, so he and I, let's see, my ex-husband and I were together maybe about 6 months or so, I think. And then, I'm trying to remember, did he meet Ezra first? I think he met his girlfriend first. And then I met my boyfriend. And my boyfriend was we met online. He was living in Atlanta at the time. And then he was looking to move to the DC area.
Right.
And so we were, talking and everything. And then when he decided to move, we met once because he had driven through DC going to New York or whatever. And so we met and had kind of our first initial date and everything. And everything was great and everything. So then he decided he was going to move to the DC area. So he actually moved in with us. So he lives with us.
Really?
Yeah, so he lived with us.
Who slept in which bedroom?
Yeah, so my husband's bedroom and I were upstairs. And then we had a basement level that was a full bedroom, bathroom, and everything, whatever. It could have been another little apartment. So he slept down there. So, and then I just landed wherever I landed.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that sounds like a great setup for you. But the two men actually got on. It was fun.
They were best buds. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, they got along very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you meet somebody else that is in the poly world? Is it you have to go to events or do you just know people?
Yeah,
How does it work?
You go to events. My boyfriend and I met online, and so I was telling you, my friend, he created the Black and Poly meetup group in DC. So there's different ones around the world. I think there's one in UK. There's several in the States. I feel like there's another one international, but don't quote. I think it's Brazil. I don't remember.
Okay.
But anyway, so we had the bigger group, and then you had your each city group or whatever. So we met in the bigger group, and I'm very vocal and controversial. So I said something crazy, I don't know, in the group, and he inboxed me. He's like, "I like what you're saying." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And then we started talking from there, and then so we exercise what we call kitchen table poly. Okay, so kitchen table poly is everyone knows everyone. Your metamors are your partner's partners.
Right.
Okay, so you call them your metamor. Okay. So then, so everyone is involved. So my ex-husband's girlfriend, she had 2 children. She was recently divorced, had 2 children. We went to the kids' recitals and and did stuff together, had holiday dinners together and all that stuff. So yeah.
And so you and her were friends?
Oh yeah, and we're still friends to this day. We got rid of the man, but we're
Really?
still friends. If I called her today and say, "Hey, I needed something," she would be right there.
Really?
And vice versa.
So do you think that we are missing out on this whole sister wives thing and that community?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yes, because remember I said at the time I was going through some health challenges.
Yeah.
I've never felt so taken care of in my life.
Really?
So if my ex-husband couldn't come to a doctor's appointment with me, my boyfriend was at the doctor's appointment with me. If I were sick, I remember, I think I had gotten bronchitis or something or whatever. She made me homemade soup, and everyone pulled together to help me, to support me.
So did she at any point ever live with you as well? Were you
No,
all
no,
under
no.
one
She
roof?
had her own home and and everything. So she was
Okay. So how does everyone keep each other safe?
safe in
Sexually?
sexually.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a very good question. So basically, I mean, of course, you're going to go through testing or whatever before you are intimate with anyone. Excuse me. And you can decide who you're going to fluid bond with. Okay. So my husband and I, of course, were fluid bonded. And then, and people trip out when I say this. But my boyfriend and I only had sex one time.
Huh?
Polyamory, remember, is not about sex. It's about relationship.
Right. Okay. This is what people need to understand.
Yes.
Right. Really?
Right.
One time?
One time.
And you were together how long?
So technically we were together for a year.
Really?
And then he passed away.
Oh, he did. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow. Okay, but so.
I know, my story is.
I know, like I'm like completely thrown now.
Yeah.
So, did you not have the chemistry between you?
Oh, absolutely, a chemistry.
So did you just resist it, or what was?
It was just, I don't know. It was just like our bond was so much deeper than physical. And we did we were always together, hung out. We had our TV date night. We went because there was just shows that we liked that my ex didn't like. And so yeah, it's like we always had time together. So part of like, as I say, I chose the wrong person to marry.
Yeah.
So in the midst of all that, that's when he started changing and things were starting to not be right. And my boyfriend ended up, he got a job and he, got his own apartment, right? So right before he moved out, that's when things started cracking in the marriage. So we had a rule though that like if things were not right in our relationship, then we had to take a break from our other partners until we worked it out. So that would force you though to really work out whatever the issue was.
Ah, that's interesting. I never thought of that. Because otherwise you just end up forgetting about that person, not working on your relationship and just being with this other partner.
Right.
Right.
So there's a lot of little rules and in things that agreements, and each relationship is different, you know, but this is just how we operate it. And also too, like, if you got a new partner, like I'm big on energy. Like if one of your partners has terrible energy, it's going to impact our household. Yeah. So I need to meet that person. I need to fill that person out, and and then say I'm not sure about this, or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's still your partner's decision to continue with that person or not. With his girlfriend, I was not in support of their relationship in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Because she had just gotten divorced and came out of a not so great relationship. Yeah. And I thought it was too soon for her to be thrust into a new relationship and into a poly relationship at that, because she had been married and monogamous for 20-something odd years. So I wasn't in favor of the relationship. Right. But of course he went on with the relationship. Yeah. It worked out. It was nothing against her personally. I didn't know her like that. But I think because I'm a therapist, I look at so many different aspects of things that most people don't look at. And so I was looking at her emotional state at that time. Also, she had 2 children, so I don't believe in bringing a bunch of people in and out of children's lives, etc. And I dealt with this too with his child, because once we parted, I no longer had access to her, and we were very, very close. So to this, I don't date guys with young children anymore. Right. But so it was a very painful break, not from him, but from her. So there's all these different dynamics that you have to consider. Yeah. And it really takes a very strong, intentional, secure person to navigate a healthy polyamory dynamic.
Yeah, I can see that. So when your relationship with your husband was breaking down, how did that then affect his girlfriend? Did you ever have a conversation around that? Like, how did that work?
Oh gosh. Okay, so my boyfriend moves out. He was doing his thing or whatever. So and he was at that point he was dating someone else too. So I got sucked in and immersed into dealing with my health, working, and dealing with this crazy relationship. So on her side, he kind of created a slight divide because we didn't communicate as much. So he was building the divide and conquer between us.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I put him out, and
It was your house.
It was my house.
Right.
Put him out, and he was supposedly going to live in. He had found a room in a house or something like that, or whatever, until he could figure out what he was going to do.
Yeah.
So after he left, I was finding out more and more stuff. So I called her and I said, "Hey, I just want you just to know, like, be careful. He is not who we thought he was."
Yeah.
Right? Well, I didn't say all of that. I said, "Hey, can we meet?" I asked her to meet me for lunch one day so we could talk.
Yeah.
So I think she said something to him. I know she said something to him. Said, "Oh, she wants to meet or whatever." So that's when he was in her ear, like, "Oh no, she put me, she put me out," and this, and he, created his narrative about me, right? And so, of course, she's in the middle of this, and she wants to trust him, so she didn't meet me. So she called me and said, "Oh, I'm not sure what you want to tell me, and I don't think it's it's necessary for us to meet." I said, "Okay, that's fine," because I already knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I said, just know that I want you to be careful. Be careful, protect your children, and because he's not the person that I found out a lot of things, and he's not the person that he presents himself to be. So that was that. I swear, like, it was a year later. A year later, on my birthday, she calls me and she says, "I just want to say, I'm woman enough to apologize."
Right.
And she said, "I put him out on Christmas Day, and I would love to to see you." So we had lunch, and so we just kind of powwowed and and sorted things out, and I found out, like, he was cheating on us. Like, he was seeing...
How can he cheat?
I know. That's always the question.
Yeah.
How do you cheat? You're polyamorous.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay. But that's because you have ground rules. Remember I said all partners... I have to meet any new partners.
Right.
If you meet somebody new, you have to say, "I'm going to see this person." Well, he was out with all, Jane, Sue, Linda, and like all over the place without either of us knowing.
I see.
So that's cheating. That's lying.
Okay, so she came back to you, and then you guys made up.
Oh yeah, we were fine. I mean, because I didn't hold anything against her because I already knew what was going on. I know that personality disorder.
Personality disorder.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, once the veil had been lifted, right?
Yeah.
I was like, this is what I've been dealing with. Okay. I mean, it was all unfolding in front of me.
Wow. Very, very interesting. I feel like there is a whole world that we don't open ourselves up to when it comes to relationships, because I mean, we're just talking about poly right now, but there are other types of relationships.
Oh yeah.
Tell me a little bit, because I'm sure you've come across, right?
Yeah. So I think poly is the thing, but I mean, the different aspects of just sex and sexuality, gender identity. You had, the most common one that seems to be popping up in my radar lately is, transgender man and a transgender woman being together, or, people, I mean, and all these people have children and they have families and so, and in my matriculation, I remember we had a poster in one of our classrooms. And it had all these different family dynamics, and and it said all of these are families.
Wow. Do you think that, and this might sound harsh, do you think that we are a generation that's also confused?
I think that the generation, I'm not sure confused is the right word, but I think they're making things a lot more complicated than what they have to be. And I'll say this, I've had clients where, like, I don't believe in labels, and we're using labels, in this conversation just so that the audience can understand, because yes, labels are used so that society can understand what is going on.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in labels. As you as an individual, you don't need to use a label, so I've had clients who their whole identity is wrapped up in their gender identity or their sexuality or their relationship status.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they seek friends in these communities. What I think before we started, I said nobody knows I'm poly.
Yeah.
Unless they've seen,
Yeah.
everybody knows me. Like, I'm on the downtown. They're gonna know now, but watching this. But yeah, it's not something I wear as a badge.
Yeah, I think because the way that people look at it is someone who is in some type of poly relationship, it's a mess. Like, they have issues, so you expect the person to be a mess, all over the place. But I mean, you're pretty together.
It doesn't have to be a mess.
You're wholesome.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a mess at all. Yeah, but that's why it's important for each individual person to do their work. The mess comes in because they're a mess.
Yeah.
But if it's done right, it can be a beautiful, wholesome, healthy thing.
Do you think that a lot of women are ending up alone because they refuse to open themselves up to different types of relationship?
I think women are alone for many different reasons. So I can't say, this is why women are alone. Because I chose to be alone for many years now because the pickings are slim, and I think the more you grow and just become more in tune with yourself, confident in yourself, you realize that the story that we've been told as women, you don't have to be partnered. You can have a full, healthy, life, not married and not having children. So that shouldn't define you. So I think a lot of women are walking away from that.
Yes, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. So I think that's the primary thing. But those who do want to be partnered, I think they are limiting themselves though to this idea of monogamy. And something I tell women when I coach them is especially when they're moving to the continent, be open to the idea of being a second or third wife.
Yeah.
Because you actually, being the second or third, you could write your own ticket. If you negotiate well, it will work very well for you. Right? So, but you have to choose the right man too. Absolutely. Yeah.
It always comes down to that.
Yeah, it really does come down to the man. It's my dating history in Ghana. It's another saga. The leadership skills are not what you would expect them to be. Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to go back to something you said earlier. You said right now you are choosing monogamy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So if you get into a relationship with someone and it's a monogamous relationship, what happens if this person is expecting a long-term commitment from you and you decide, actually, I feel ready to go into a poly relationship now? That doesn't sound like it's fair on the person.
No. So the thing is I said, at this point in my life, I'm choosing monogamy because I don't have the capacity to deal with a whole bunch of situations.
Okay.
Yes. So I think it's just at my age, I'm just tired. I just don't want to be bothered.
Okay.
So it's like I said, it doesn't change that I'm polyamorous, but it just changes how I'm pursuing relationships. So it's not something that would come up for me at this point in my life.
Oh, okay. I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
fair.
And I think too, because I haven't actually been in a poly relationship since my boyfriend passed. So literally, My husband, I kicked my husband out in April, and my partner died. My boyfriend died in June.
Oh, wow. Was it sudden?
It was. He had a heart attack. He was a former pro basketball player.
Oh, wow.
And so it's very common for former pro athletes
really?
to have heart issues.
Oh, I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you ever tried to get into a relationship here in Ghana under the poly umbrella? And how did that work?
When I first came here, I dated a couple of people. The first person, I let him know because his life was not one that was monogamous conducive. Like, he was out and about a lot. He was doing a lot or whatever. I was finding my footing here, so I didn't want to be bogged down with one person. Dating here is different. It's like you meet a person and they say they like you, you like them, and you, boom, you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
There's no like dating process the way we do in the West, right? And so I let him know, like, okay, I see the realities of your life. We like each other, but I'm not sure either that I want to be bogged down in something. So we agreed, like, okay, we'll be dating each other, dating other people or whatever, right? So that's as far as polyish that I got, right?
Right.
So, which, dating like that is not common for the women here. So, right. So what happened, though, was through him, I met a female friend. We're not friends anymore. Because basically, I think he said something to her around like, oh yeah, we see other people or something to that effect. But basically, she was going around to the other people that I met, that I was building friendships with, telling them not to be friends with me because I am, this Jezebel, and I'm no good. I'm this terrible person, and I'm cheating on her friend, and so. Yeah, so it was just a whole.
Oh my goodness!
It was a whole mess, right?
Right.
And so we had a mutual friend, and he is like my dear friend to this day. And we were out, and he's like, "What is going on with you and her, or whatever?" Because they've known each other since college.
Yeah.
So I would never, come between that friendship, whatever. So he was like, "What's going on between you and her, or whatever?" And I said, "I don't know," because she just stopped talking to me all of a sudden without saying anything,
so
right?
Annoying.
Right, it is.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, whatever, I'm going on with life.
Yeah.
And so then all the whispers started coming to me, like, oh, she said, so he was like, yeah, she said something about you were dating her friend or something. So I'm like, oh, okay. So basically, he ran his mouth too much. And of course, people take what they wanted to take and misconstrued it all or whatever, and it was this big deal. So I actually kind of, lost, people in my life because of it. So, but this one friend was like, oh, but I love you. You're cool, so I'm going to be friends with both of you. Hopefully one day y'all get it together. I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to be her friend anymore because the way she handled that, it was so inappropriate.
Yeah.
And then it was like later the guy did something to her that was like that kind of put her in a bad place, and so she was like, oh, I shouldn't have acted that way towards Adwoa, and she told our mutual friend this. And he's like the peacemaker. He's like trying to bring us back together. And I'm like, no, thank you. She's cool over there, and I'll be over here. But I will never trust her.
Yeah, honestly, I don't blame you. I have that same stance. I'm just like, once trust is broken,
I'm done. I'm done.
That's it.
Because I love openly and genuinely. Yeah. And so when I meet you, I'm gonna trust you. But you have a rope, and I'll sit there and watch you. Yeah. I'll watch you hang yourself, and once you hang yourself, then I'm like, okay, deuces, I gave you some, gave you some opportunities.
I have the same take on life as well, the same way.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about your dating coaching,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you seeing out there right now? What are people struggling with? What is apparent in that world?
So, number one, I was blessed with men in my life. I was blessed to, like I talked about my uncle, my grandfathers. I had a lot of men in my life that just loved me and adored me and put me on a pedestal. I had guys say, "You're just rotten." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And I love it. And I love it. Yes. So they set a standard. But a lot of women didn't have that.
Yes.
Right? And I always say that especially my grandfather and my uncle, they taught me man game. So a lot of the things that women fall for, I don't fall for. So like I said, I chose wrong with my ex-husband, but I was in a state where I shouldn't have been choosing it at all.
Yeah.
I was very vulnerable. So I definitely if he were to present himself today, I'm like, oh hell no, excuse me, if I say hell. But So, but a lot of women are not equipped with information about men. They don't know anything about men.
Really? Because they don't have any type of male role model in their life,
Right.
A good role model.
A good male role model in her. And not to say that my grandfather and uncle were good men. They, my grandfather, I always say he would be classified as a fuckboy, as they say now. He was horrible. He was a horrible husband, but a horrible father too. But he was a wonderful grandfather. He made up for it.
Interesting that you can be like that.
Oh yeah, he was the best grandfather.
Really?
I always say he taught me how to shoot. He taught me how to drink like a lady, and he taught me how to hunt.
Really?
So I can feed myself, I can protect myself.
The things that you need.
And everything I needed.
Wow.
Yes.
That's so interesting. You can be a terrible father but a great grandfather.
Oh yeah. But I mean, most people though, there's a saying that like grandparenthood is a second chance at parenthood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of times parents are so busy trying to just survive and and make sure the kids eat and have clothes on their backs and a roof over their heads. That a lot of times they don't have time for the nurturing part, or they miss that, especially if they didn't have it themselves. And then you can tell how good a person is in the way and how they treat their grandchildren if they have them. Wow. They have an opportunity to have them. Yeah. So yeah, he was awesome. He was awesome. But they taught me about men.
Yeah.
And I think the games they play and all that. Like I said earlier, like don't believe what a man says, believe what he does. And a lot of women don't know that.
Yeah. No, it's very right, because I think that sometimes, please don't come for me. Like women, we can have a certain amount of naivety when it comes to men, right? We believe a lot of what is told to us without any type of proof, any type of understanding. There have been times with my current partner where he said, I've told him stuff and he's like, be careful of this. I'm like, oh no, I think it's fine. But like, okay. And then exactly what he said to me has happened.
Yeah.
He doesn't usually say I told you so, but he'd just be like, well, and it's like I close myself off to hearing, because I think, no, I have this weakness sometimes where I feel like because I'm a certain way, the other person's going to be a certain way. And so we receive them like that.
Yeah, you can't expect you from other people.
Exactly, and that's one of the hardest lessons that I've learned in life right now.
Yeah, you got to stop doing that. So that's my number one rule in coaching women when it comes to dating.
Yes.
Stop expecting you from others.
Yes.
Especially from men.
Yes.
Because they were not socialized the same.
That's really interesting. Very, very interesting.
Most men are socialized to that, and this is where monogamy comes in. Monogamy was created in order to allow every man to have a wife.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
From a historical and financial perspective, if monogamy was not created and polygamy was the only thing available, most men would not have an opportunity to procreate, because all of the men resources would take all of the women.
Wow.
And so, in order to protect their resources and the ability for them to have, as many women as they wanted, monogamy was created so that the men who couldn't get women would not come after the ones that could.
Interesting. Do you not think that monogamy was born mostly in the West, and in Africa we were more poly?
Yes. So there's a book that I love, and it really talks about the African experience and how we've gotten to this point in the dynamics of men and women in their relationships, especially in the Black and African communities, right? And the West is who created monogamy per se, the concept that we know today, right? And as we were talking about women not knowing how men operate, and just trusting everything that men say, I believe is derived from Christianity or the Abrahamic religions. Really, I said Christianity, excuse me, Christians out there, but the Abrahamic religions as a whole, they're very, very patriarchal. So if you're grown up, if you're told when you're growing up that God is He, God is all-knowing, God is your Savior, God is your everything, then you're going to listen to everything that a male figure tells you and believe it.
Yeah. Gosh, there's so much complexities in life,
It is.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think that everybody should do some type of dating coaching before getting into a relationship?
I think so because I say that just because so many women are so ill-equipped.
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's so much that they don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, some of my clients, I'm like, it's like we have whole sessions on like just reading body language or, dissecting what it is that he's really saying.
Yeah.
Like they'll bring text to me like, okay, what is he saying in this text? I'm like, girl, it ain't that complicated. He don't want to be with you. He ain't making time for you. Girl, he don't want you. He found somebody else.
Yeah.
And they're like, but I'm like, no, listen to what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He don't want you. But it's hard for them to accept it.
So is dating coaching, is that for people who are who want to be in relationships, or is it also for couples to also do as well? How's it different to therapy?
So coaching is just coaching in general. We're not even going to just put dating in front of it. In general, therapy takes you deep. It helps you unpack the whys of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah.
So it can be very emotionally charged.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people avoid it, because it's painful.
Yeah.
It's a journey that is heart-wrenching. It brings up stuff that you may have forgotten, but I'm the one that's going to help you face it so that you can stop making those same mistakes and you can move on with your life. Coaching is just you bringing a particular situation that's going on right now to so I can't find a date and I want to get married. Okay, well, let's figure out what's keeping you from finding a date. Is it how you're dressing, how you're presenting yourself, etc. So I have this bad habit when I'm bored. So I have dating profiles on different online sites, just so I can kind of keep up with what's going on, the trends, etc. So, because my clients come to me like, I'm on this site or whatever. I'm like, oh, what's this site? I need to know what this site is doing, right? So I set up profiles or whatever. So, but when I'm bored, sometimes I'll go in and I'll be looking at these guys' profiles, and I'll send them a message like, "You need to smile on this picture." But I've had them say, "Oh, okay, well, thank you," and then that's it. Because I'm like, guys don't know how to present themselves.
Oh my gosh! Do you know, it's so funny. My partner sent me this podcast the other day, and this is exactly what they were talking about. They were like, most men do not know how to present themselves on dating apps, and if you do the bare minimum, you'll be doing better than 70% of the guys on the apps already.
Yep.
And I was like, Fascinating.
Oh my gosh, there was this guy not so long ago. I mean, he was mean mugging, and I'm like, who are you going to attract with this picture? He said, oh, well, it's a defense mechanism. I said, sir, you're trying to get a date. Why are you defending yourself against the women on here? Like, I had this whole conversation where there was a freebie.
Wow.
But so those are the things that, that I'm coaching people on. So even with women, like, okay, babe, you got too much breast out. You need a nice, face picture on your profile that you're going to do online dating. This is what you want to do. Where to go to meet, eligible men, where to, how to present yourself when you're out or whatever. So the international piece though, so that's just, my clients that are, in the West. Yeah. International piece. So when I first came here, I almost got scammed. And at the same time I was dealing with my situation, there was a woman who befriended me in my inbox from one of the Moving to Ghana groups. Yeah. So I got stuck in the States when Ghana shut its borders down during COVID. So she was in the same situation. She told me she was moving here to be with her husband, right? And I didn't really think of anything about it because I was dealing with my own stuff, right? So as we continue to talk, like she was giving me little pieces of, little details here and there. And so at one point she said to me, that she was sending this guy $800 a month for their rent on the apartment. And I'm like, what? I said, there are no apartments for $800. At that time, there was, now, yes, you can say $800. But at that time, no, right? So I was like, my ears went up. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. So that's when I was like, oh, sis is getting scammed. Right? So when I got here, I was dealing with my own scammer. But, but I was, trying to, help her out as well. And so I realized that a lot of women are meeting these guys over here and they have no clue about the culture. They have no idea, like we were just talking about how dating is different here, right? Marriage is different here, right? So, I tell them, like, if he's talking about taking you to the courthouse to get married, you're not married. You're not married by our local standards. That paperwork's for the West, but you're not his wife here. All of these little things that they don't know. And it's so crazy to me how you can date someone of another culture but not take time to get to know their culture. So that so it's I'm like, well, I can't feel sorry for you, because you didn't take time to know who you were, who you were, dating.
Oh my goodness.
So and unfortunately, they don't listen.
No, it's true. It's true.
Listen.
I have tried to warn people about certain things, and the minute you do, you get shut down by everyone because they're like, "You're just being negative. You're this, you're that," and I'm just like, listen, if you want to talk, come and talk to me afterwards. But there's only so much you can do.
There's only so much you can do. So I stopped having those conversations. I said if I had to if I depended on making a living off of this alone, I would starve it. I'd be living in the streets of a car. So I know, it's funny too. It's like you always get like, oh, you're just bitter, you're jealous.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Oh yeah, I hear that
like,
too.
Sweetie. And I'm like, and I tell women too, when you come here, don't get with the first guy you see. And you can throw a rock and hit 20 men. Yeah. Men are everywhere here. Everywhere. They're crawling everywhere. They're like cockroaches. Yeah. Yep. Right? So just sit down.
Yeah. Take your time.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's
I mean, this has been a great conversation. I feel like we're definitely going to talk some more because I have some things coming up, and so I'd really like your input and stuff. So we'll talk about that off camera. But where can people find you if they want to know a bit more about some of the things that you do, a bit more advice from you?
Yeah. So on IG, it's Mental Health Movement. I'm terrible at posting on IG, but yes, you can send me a message. I would get it. Or you can reach out to me for coaching services or therapy. It's what's my number? 055-607-5752.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. It's been such an enlightening conversation. I definitely have learned some stuff.
Yeah.
I
know, it just kind of like, that was just the surface of
I know,
it.
that's what I'm
So
saying.
much.
I'm always feeling bad for ending the conversation here because I'm like, there's so much more that
Yeah.
can be unpacked. But
Yeah.
maybe we'll have you on again at another time. You know.
That's fine.
But it's
That's
been
great.
great. Thank you so
Thank
much. I
you. Thank
appreciate you
you.
coming on. All right, guys, that is the end of today's video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. It has been a slightly different type of content, but it's still been a great conversation. Okay, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment and share this video. Until next time, we are out. Nativa.